This is October the 15th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. It is a beautiful day here in South Carolina. It's probably about 65 degrees, somewhere around there. Got a nice cool breeze blowing through right now. There's a couple of clouds in the sky. I mean, it's so blue, it's almost purple right now. It's so pretty. But like I said, it's just a beautiful day here. I'm really glad that it's such a nice day after that nasty weekend that we just had with all the rain. I wish I could enjoy this beautiful weather a little bit more today, but I'm just exhausted. We were in the car all day yesterday. Like I said, we had to go down to Charleston. I had to go to MUSC yesterday. You can definitely tell that fall is here. When we were on the way down there and on the way back, I saw so many like little pumpkin stands on the way. And when we're driving down to Charleston, we always take the back way to get there. So we go through like a bunch of really small farming towns on the way through. Like I said, I just saw pumpkins everywhere. And when we were leaving Charleston yesterday as well, for any of you guys that live in Charleston that watch, let me know in the comments if you know what this is. There's a church on James Island. I think it's a Catholic church. But as you're leaving James Island on 17, on the right-hand side, there's a big church right there, and they had thousands of pumpkins out in the front of that place. I don't know if they're selling the pumpkins or they're giving them away or if people are donating the pumpkins to that church. But the pumpkins are like all out in the they're like out in the front of the church. There's like a little courtyard on the side of the church, and there's just pumpkins piled up. They're all stacked up on top of each other. They were everywhere. The whole entire outside of that church is just covered in pumpkins. So for any of you guys that live in Charleston and know what that is, like I said, it's right there on James Island. I'm just wondering what they're doing with all those pumpkins. Do they do that every year? They give them away? But anyway, like I said, I just saw a lot of pumpkins when we were out yesterday, especially driving through those small towns. I cannot believe that Halloween is right around the corner. This year has really flown by fast. The summer went by so quick. It was like you snapped your fingers and the summer was over. I mean, it was just like it was just yesterday that my kids got out of school and we went up to the mountains together, and now we're here at Halloween. It's insane how fast time flies, but hey, it's all good. At least we're all still here, right? But what I wanted to talk about today is liver disease. I haven't talked about liver disease in quite a while on here. I spoke about pancreatitis here recently, but I haven't really dived into liver disease in quite some time. I don't know why I'm getting all tongue twisted talking about liver disease. Like I said, I just want to dive into liver disease today, and I'm going to go over every single type of liver disease that there is. I haven't done a video like this in quite a while, but like I said, I'm going to discuss each type of liver disease. I'm going to go over each type briefly. But I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into cirrhosis and fatty liver disease. Now, I'm not going to do a super deep dive on the two of those. If I went over each and every single one of these and did a deep dive, today's video would be 3 hours long. And if you guys would like, I can do some more videos this week or maybe next week and kind of do a little bit deeper dive on the rest of them as well. But, I think cirrhosis and fatty liver are probably the two most common types of liver disease. So I think it's just important to discuss those today and just go a little bit deeper into it and discuss the symptoms, what causes liver disease, the different types of liver disease, and things of that nature. That's what I want to talk about today, like I said. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Guys, let's go ahead and dive into the different types of liver disease. Before we get into that, though, I did just want to throw this in, that the liver has 500 functions, or over 500 functions, which is huge. Our livers play a very, very big role in our health. And to have over 500 functions, I mean, there are so many different things that our liver does for us. And one of the things that our liver does for us, which is one of the most important things that it does for us, is it filters our blood, and it filters all the toxins out of our blood. In the process of doing so, if we start to overload our body with toxins, what will end up happening is our liver will become overloaded with those toxins. So if we're drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, or taking something that has something that is toxic to our body. Maybe you're taking some kind of supplement and there's heavy metals or something like that in there. It can cause our liver to become overloaded, which can lead to liver disease as well. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in really quick before we start diving into these different types of liver disease. The first type of liver disease that I wanted to go over is alcoholic liver disease. And it's caused by an excessive consumption leading to inflammation, scarring, cirrhosis, and liver failure. The next one is non-alcoholic liver disease, or NAFLD. It's an accumulation of fat in the liver without significant alcohol consumption. So this NAFLD is caused not by alcohol or not by excessive amounts of alcohol like alcoholic liver disease is. It can progress to non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or NASH, which is characterized by inflammation and liver damage. The next type of liver disease is called hepatitis, viral infection that cause inflammation of the liver, including hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. Autoimmune liver disease, conditions where immune system attacks the liver, such as primary biliary cholangitis, PBC, and autoimmune hepatitis. All right, so the next one on the list is genetic liver disease, and this one's inherited conditions that affect the liver function, such as Wilson's disease and hemochromatosis. Liver cancer is another one. Primary liver cancer originating in the liver, or a metastatic liver cancer spreading from other organs. And then other liver diseases, such as liver cysts, gallstones, cholangitis, inflammation of the bile ducts, and drug-induced liver injury. All right, so that's all the different types of liver disease, okay? And like I said, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive, not too deep, because I don't want to make today's video super duper long, but we're going to talk about cirrhosis and fatty liver a little bit more, okay? So cirrhosis is a chronic liver disease characterized by the irreversible destruction of liver cells and the formation of scar tissue, fibrosis. Causes of cirrhosis are alcohol abuse, hepatitis B and C infections, fatty liver disease, genetic disorders, and Wilson's disease. The symptoms of cirrhosis are the following: fatigue, weakness, jaundice, which is the yellowing of the eyes and the skin. If you've ever seen anybody with jaundice before, you know. It's very easy to pick up on. Ascites, or the fluid buildup in the abdomen. This is the thing that I talk about all the time. Ascites is absolutely horrible, guys. And for any of you guys that have dealt with ascites, I am so very sorry. And if you are currently dealing with ascites, I am so very sorry. I pray for each and every single one of you guys every single day for relief. Ascites is absolutely horrible. I can't even explain it to you guys. I can tell you in words, but there's just still no way to really get it across how uncomfortable ascites actually truly is. I think it is the worst part about all of this. It just makes life so uncomfortable. You have all this fluid in your belly, and it's putting so much pressure on your organs. And not to mention, does it put pressure on the organs, but it puts a lot of pressure on your lungs. You know, you only have so much space in your cavity right there, you know, in your stomach. And, you know, there's only but so much space for everything to fit, and it's pretty tight in there already. And then when you start adding all this fluid, there's nowhere for it to go but up or back. And like I said, there's a bunch of organs right there, so it can only make but so much room in the stomach cavity, and there's only but so much room, you know, that your stomach can actually make. You know, your abdomen muscles can only stretch out but so far. Your stomach, your skin's only gonna be able to stretch out but so far. So that water is gonna have to go somewhere else. So often it'll start to push up into your lung area, and it makes it so difficult to breathe, especially if you're sitting in the wrong position, which I've done videos on. If any of you guys guys are dealing with ascites right now, please go back and look way back, probably in like the 150 range of videos. Is probably around that number, somewhere around there, because I did it early on in the channel. But I did a video discussing the best ways to stay comfortable with ascites, and I did a whole video on how to lay in the bed, how to sit on the couch, just a lot of things like that. And another video too that I probably need to redo again, but I think this is a very important video too for you guys to go back and watch. It's the one where I did talking about hospital bags. If you are currently, and I suggest anybody do this because you just never know when somebody's going to end up getting sick, or if you're going to get sick, and it doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol related. Just as human beings, we get ill, and our family members, they get ill as well. And there's nothing worse than 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a phone call that somebody's dealing with something, and they're, they have an emergency, and that you need to go pick them up, or you need to head over to the hospital, and it's in another city, or maybe it's in your town, but you don't know. You might have to stay there for a couple of days, whatever. And a lot of times we have to go somewhere else to go to a hospital. My point is that I did a video discussing hospital bags, and I just think it's really important. I keep one all the time. My family have all done the same thing. They watched my video and they all went and did it. And as a matter of fact, not too long after they did that, both of my parents had to have surgery. And they were really thankful that I had put that video up, because it helped them to remember certain things that they probably wouldn't have thought about, before they went into the hospital. But like I said, if you haven't, go back and check out the ascites video on how to sit and lay down, and then check out the hospital bag video. I think it's just a really important thing to have laying around. And basically, it's just a video talking about all the things that I keep inside of my emergency hospital bag, or it can be an emergency bag for anything. But like toothbrush, toothpaste, change of clothes, all these things, because like I said, you get woken up in the middle of the night. It's not like we get scheduled when we're going to have an emergency. You wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you start throwing up blood because you had a varices burst. You're not going to be sitting there going, let me, but in between throwing up this blood, let me get a toothbrush and a toothpaste and my deodorant and some underwear. No, you're not thinking about anything other than I need to get to the hospital right now. And if you have a hospital bag already prepared, ready to rock and roll, you grab it and you walk out the door and it's ready. You got your couple changes of clothes in there, some extra socks, and we all have an extra pair or two of socks laying around that we don't really like anymore that you could just throw in the bag. Some old underwear that you don't really like anymore that you could just toss in the bag. Just take your old clothes that you really don't like. It's not like you want to be wearing your best clothes that you have while you're in the hospital anyway. Get some comfy old clothes and pack them up in your bag. That way you've got some extra stuff to wear while you're in the hospital. And like I said, just check out the video. I go over everything. I've spent a lot of time in the hospital, and I did a pretty comprehensive list of things to pack. So like I said, if you haven't checked those out, go check them out. But anyway, let's get back to cirrhosis. So we've already talked about jaundice. We've already talked about ascites, which is the fluid buildup in the abdomen. And what ends up happening with ascites, and I'll go over this really quick. I've discussed this a bunch of times on here, but think about your liver as being a sponge. And if you've had like an old sponge before that you tried to get wet, you put it underneath of the faucet before you go to scrub dishes. If it's a really old, used, dried up sponge, when you try to get water in it, it just doesn't want to grab it too quick. When they get hard like that, the water kind of repels off of it, doesn't really absorb very well. Actually, another way to think of this is like a water filter, as a matter of fact. This is a little bit easier way to think of it. Think of your liver as a water filter, and you guys know that over time, as you use water filter, they start to accumulate particles and things and trash and toxins and things like that in the water filter. And over time, as it starts to accumulate little particles and stuff, the water doesn't flow through it as easily as it did in the beginning. That's exactly what's going on with your liver. It's like the difference between having a brand new water filter or an old water filter. A brand new water filter, The water flows right through it, no issues, no back pressure, anything like that. It just goes straight through the filter. That would be a healthy liver. A scarred cirrhotic liver would be an old, dirty, 3-year-old water filter that hasn't been changed. You're trying to run water through it and it doesn't go through, it just drips. That's what's going on with your liver when you're in cirrhosis. You have so much scar tissue that the blood cannot flow through the liver at the same speed that it did when your liver was healthy. And what starts to happen is, imagine the backside of the water filter where the water flows into the water filter, not the side where the water flows out. But the water flowing in would be your portal vein. And as that water's trying to get into that water filter, or the blood tries to get into the liver, it can't flow through there fast enough, so it starts to create back pressure. And that portal vein starts to get a lot of back pressure on it, and it starts to expand, and it just creates a lot of problems. And that's what portal hypertension is. It's just high blood pressure on that pressure in that portal vein because the blood can't flow through the liver properly. But anyway, and that's what creates the ascites. As the blood can't flow through the liver properly, that fluid starts to leach into the belly, and it starts to build up, which is the ascites. And it is not easy to get that ascites off. There are some things that they can do for you, like a paracentesis, which is basically a big needle that they stick into your abdomen. And then they've got like a little rubber hose that runs down to like a glass or a plastic receptacle that just sits on the floor. They basically just use gravity. They just set this container on the floor, stick the needle in your stomach, run the hose down to it, and the water just, or the fluid just pours out. And it's like a straw-colored, like a yellowish straw color. It almost looks like urine that ends up in that container. That's the color of the ascites fluid. And the thing about ascites as well, and I didn't mean to get this deep into all this stuff, but ascites is one of those things I'm really passionate about, because it really truly is. It's horrible. It's the most horrible symptom of this, and it's something that I dealt with for a very, very long time. But one of the things about it is that ascites fluid can get infected. And when it gets infected, it causes serious problems. You can end up going septic because of it, and you can lose your life because of ascites. That fluid gets infected, you can go into septic shock and lose your life. It's very, very dangerous. And one of the reasons to definitely stay sober today, because you do not want to end up with cirrhosis. I can promise you that. The next symptom for cirrhosis is swelling in the legs, which is something that I dealt with too. I was out on a job one day. This is before I found out. This is before I got really sick and ended up in the hospital. This is before any of this stuff happened. But it was a couple months leading up before I ended up in the hospital the first time. And I was on a job working. This is when I had my business. And I used to pull my socks up really high when I was working. And this one day, I happened to go to pull my socks back up because they had like slid back down my legs. And when I went to pull my socks back up, I looked at my legs. They were so swollen. I didn't understand what was going on. And I had big rings around my legs from where the socks had been. And I mean, there was like a big hump in the back of my leg from where it was like poking out from where the sock had been. It looked really strange and odd. It really scared me. I didn't know what to do, but I just went back to work and was like, I'll deal with this later. And I forgot all about it when I got home that day, and I took a shower, changed my clothes. I didn't really look down again. And the next day I woke up and it was gone. But you know, once again, that swelling in the legs is very easy to pick up on. You'll definitely be able to see that. It does happen. That fluid starts to get down in the legs and it just can't work its way back up too. Bruising easily is another symptom. The spider angiomas, angiomas, is that how it's pronounced? Angiomas, I guess. Spider angiomas, which I have those on my face right here. They're all right through there, and they're on the tip of my nose too. But it's the spider-like blood vessels on the skin. My brother brought it up to me probably about a year leading up before I got sick. I'd gone over to his house one Sunday, and he's like, you know all those red blood vessels on your face? are associated with alcoholism. And I was like, no, they're not. Get out of here. I told them it was some kind of skin problem. I can't remember what, rosacea. I used to have a dermatologist that was a member of the club that I used to work at. And she walked up to me and looked at my face one day and goes, I can give you some cream for that. That's rosacea. So I used to always just say, it's rosacea. No, it wasn't. It was from my drinking. Confusion and memory problems or encephalopathy is another one of the symptoms, which it's another one of those things. I've dealt with that. It's really, it's not fun. It's just not fun at all. And then also loss of appetite. And when they say loss of appetite, I mean like complete loss of appetite. You are not hungry at all. And the ascites plays a huge role in that as well if you're dealing with that, because you just don't want to eat. You feel so full and bloated all the time that even thinking about food is like just absolutely not. Diagnosis of cirrhosis, blood tests, liver function tests, viral markers, liver biopsy, which is pretty much kind of the gold standard for them to know for 100% sure if it's cirrhosis or not. And the liver biopsy, it doesn't hurt either. They just go and take a very small piece of tissue out of there. And then imaging studies such as ultrasound, CT scan, and MRI. They can do all these tests, but I think liver biopsy is the only way they can know 100% for sure, because they take that biopsy, they put underneath of a microscope, and they look at the cells to see what's going on with them. Treatment for cirrhosis, well, of course, is stopping alcohol consumption is, number one, very important. If that's in fact what's going on. And even if it's not alcohol-induced cirrhosis, so say it's, you ended up with fatty liver that progressed into cirrhosis, you still don't want to be drinking alcohol with cirrhosis. Your liver's already damaged. You don't want to pour gasoline on a fire. So, like I said, even if in fact your liver disease was not caused by alcohol per se, you still don't want to drink because your liver is damaged at that point, and alcohol is going to cause more damage to the liver. It's going to put more stress on the liver than you want to put on it. The next thing for, for treatment is treating underlying hepatitis infections, if that's one of the cases, maybe why you ended up with cirrhosis, which it doesn't necessarily have to be. Managing symptoms, which is a really big one. Ascites, jaundice, etc. Ascites, they give you water pills, Lasix, things like that. They don't want you to be on the Lasix for too long. I think they're really hard on your kidneys. But often, especially in the beginning of dealing with ascites, they'll have you on Lasix and the water pills at the same time. They'll tell you not to drink more than 2 liters of fluid a day, reduce your sodium intake to 1,000 milligrams of sodium a day, which is not much, guys. I had to change my whole entire diet whenever I first got diagnosed, and it was so difficult. Everything tasted so bland. It was such a big lifestyle change when I found out that I was sick. I mean, everything just came at me all at once. I found out I had diabetes, so I had to start counting carbs. I found out that I had pancreatitis, so I had to start looking at all my fat and things like that and make sure I wasn't consuming anything that was going to cause me pancreatic issues. I just had to be careful across the board, and it was very, very difficult to have such a big change in my life. But anyway, like I said, they can manage the ascites and manage the jaundice and things of that nature. And if you do have jaundice, they're going to want to keep checking your bilirubin and doing blood tests all the time and things of that nature. Another thing that they can do, and before I hop on this next one, it's one of the reasons why going to the doctor is so very important, especially if you think that you might be dealing with something. If you think that you might have fatty liver, if you think that you might have cirrhosis, go see your doctor. Please go see your doctor, because catching this stuff early is the key to success with this. The earlier that you catch this, the better off that you're probably going to end up being. I can't say for 100% sure, and once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not affiliated with any healthcare professionals or anything. I'm just a normal guy who's an alcoholic, and I just come on here and try to educate people about this stuff. So once again, like I said yesterday, take what I say with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm not a healthcare professional, but, once again, I'm just trying to help people. That's it. Just trying to get the education out about it. Education is very important. And like I said, with all of this, early detection and taking care of this, hopping on it and trying to treat this early is the best thing that you can do for yourself. If you find out that you have cirrhosis, going ahead and getting off the alcohol as soon as possible, changing your diet, trying to exercise, doing all the things that you need to do in order to reverse the damage to your liver the best that you can, because you can do so. Now, cirrhosis is, once you have cirrhosis, there's no coming back from it. But you can stop it in its tracks and stop it from causing more damage. And you might be able to slightly decrease some of that damage a little bit. Once that scar tissue's there, it's there. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. That early detection and early treatment is going to be the best way to success for you in this. But anyway, we talked about managing the symptoms, and the next thing is a liver transplant, and that's in severe cases. And then dealing with the portal hypertension as well. And the portal hypertension causes a lot of these other problems too. The doctors, there's things that they can do to figure out what the portal hypertension is, like what the blood pressure is in your portal vein. I have no idea how they do it. I've seen those numbers they had written down before. But they can treat your portal hypertension with beta blockers, things of that nature, and really bring that portal hypertension down, which can decrease the chances of ascites, decrease the chances of you having a varices burst or something of that nature. And the portal hypertension, once again, is what causes those varices to burst, because it's putting all this back pressure on those veins. And at some point, they have so much pressure on them that they eventually just will break, and you'll have internal bleeding, and you might not even know it's even going on right away. It could be a while before you find out that you actually had a varices burst. It's not like you feel something right away when it happens. But anyway, the prognosis depends on the underlying cause, severity of the disease, and the response to treatment. But without treatment, cirrhosis can lead to liver failure, which is life-threatening. With treatment, some people may live many years. And additional information here: cirrhosis is a progressive disease that worsens over time, and there is no cure for cirrhosis, but treatment can slow its progression and improve quality of life for those individuals. And I've got this circled right here: early diagnosis and treatment are crucial for improving outcomes. So, guys, like I said, if you believe that you might be dealing with cirrhosis, fatty liver, any kind of liver disease, don't keep putting it off. I know how scary it is. I really, truly do. But please go speak with the doctor about this and try to get that early diagnosis. That way that you can stop it right dead in its tracks. And the last thing that we're going to go over today is going to be fatty liver disease, which I think is probably, the most common form of liver disease in the world, probably. I don't remember what the numbers are, but I think it's something like 1 in 5 Americans are walking around with fatty liver disease right now and probably don't even know it. And the thing with fatty liver disease as well is that fatty liver disease is not all caused by alcohol consumption. Once again, just like cirrhosis, not all cirrhosis is caused by alcohol consumption. It can be caused by other things. Fatty liver does not have to be caused by alcohol consumption. It can be caused by food, a lot of different things. Diabetes can cause it. And like I said, most of the time with fatty liver, there's no symptoms, there's no nothing. Nobody even knows what's going on. That's why going to the doctor, getting your blood work done every year, they can pick up on, your liver numbers being off really quick. And if you do simple blood work, they're going to look at your ALT, AST, things like that. They're going to be able to know pretty quick. They're going to look at your bilirubin. But they'll know right away if there's problems with your liver. And if that's the case, then they can do a little bit more investigation to find out what's going on. They might discover that you have fatty liver disease. And the one thing about fatty liver disease is, nobody wants to have fatty liver at all. I get it. I wouldn't want to have it either. Which at some point I had fatty liver. It progressed because I never did anything about it. I dealt with that pain on my right hand side, right underneath my rib cage where my liver is, for years upon years. Never said a word to a soul. I didn't even tell my wife about the pain in my liver, I don't think. And definitely not any doctors. I was too afraid of what they might say to me. But don't be afraid. Fatty liver, the one good thing about it is reversible. And if you catch this soon enough, they find out that you have like the beginning stages of fatty liver, and you get in there and you really put your mind to it that you want to turn this around and get your health back and not allow this to progress into something worse. You can reverse this. You can totally reverse fatty liver. That's the one really good thing about it. Hence, early detection, going to see your doctor, and if in fact you do have fatty liver disease, not drinking, following a diet that's proper for you, and living a healthy lifestyle, exercising, and most importantly, not drinking or using substances anymore. You could go on living a healthy life. And not have to deal with your fatty liver progressing into cirrhosis. And like I said, you could potentially just stop it in its tracks and turn it all around. But once again, let's go ahead and jump into fatty liver. So fatty liver is a condition where excess fat builds up in the liver, often with no early symptoms. It can be caused by heavy alcohol use, alcoholic fatty liver disease, or non-alcoholic. I'm sorry, these pages are blowing around in the wind. Or non-alcoholic factors like obesity, diabetes, and high cholesterol, NAFLD. Lifestyle changes such as diet, exercise, and weight loss can help reverse the condition. But in severe cases, it can lead to liver damage, inflammation, scarring, or fibrosis and cirrhosis. What is fatty liver? Hepatic steatosis is a buildup of fat in the liver cells. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, a condition caused by fat buildup not related to heavy alcohol use. Or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, a more severe form of NAFLD that involves inflammation and liver damage. So what are the symptoms of fatty liver? The symptoms are, in the early stages, most people have no symptoms at all, none, which is one of the really scary things about this, that there's nothing off, you don't have any pain really. I mean, there's just nothing going on, no ascites, no jaundice, nothing, no fatigue, nothing like that. You just living your life, you feel normal, maybe a little bit off, but you can't tell if it's just you drank too much last night, or maybe there is something going on. Maybe something has been going on for a while, but you're not quite sure about it. In the later stages of fatty liver disease, fatigue. So if you're feeling really tired all the time, more tired than usual, it's that much harder to get up out of the bed in the morning. You feel like you just want to lay down all the time. You need to take a break all the time. Things that used to not wear you out now. Maybe you used to walk 3-4 miles a day, and now you get to 1 mile and you feel like you just can't do it. You're just completely whipped. These might be signs. But fatigue is a big one. Pain in the upper right-hand side of the abdomen, like I was talking about this a few minutes ago. I dealt with that pain for years upon years and never did anything about it. If you're having that pain on your right-hand side, right where your rib cage starts, right where your rib cage meets your belly, right in that area right there, right below your rib cage, just anywhere in that right-hand side area right there. If you're having pain, if you have this really dull pain sensation right there, like you can just feel your liver feels heavy. It's like your liver has a weight on it or something all day long. Or you're having like sharp, dull pains in your liver, go speak with the doctor, please. That's not normal. And it could be a sign of fatty liver disease, or worse. Once again, pain in the upper right-hand side of the abdomen, jaundice, which we talked about, which is the yellowing of the skin in the eyes, easy bruising again. That was weird. A lot of these symptoms are the same for fatty liver and for cirrhosis and across the board. because it's a lot of the same things that are happening, although it's different diseases. And then after easy bruising is swollen abdomen or ascites. Causes and risk factors: alcohol abuse, obesity, type 2 diabetes. I don't know if type 1 diabetes is a risk factor for this or not, but high levels of triglycerides and cholesterol and metabolic syndrome as well. And I know that too. My dad has problems with his cholesterol being really high, and he gets placed on, he has to take these shots like a couple times a year. Maybe it's once every 6 months or something. I think it might be twice a year. I can't quite remember, but he's on a cholesterol medication. It's a very expensive shot. It's like $2,000 when he has to get it, but it's really, really hard on the liver. If you have high cholesterol and you're dealing with something like that, talk with your doctor as well, because it could be the cholesterol medication that's causing issues. I know my dad's had to come off of his cholesterol medication because his liver enzymes were way off the map. So they pulled him off of for a little while, and they put him back on after a few months of taking a break or whatever it was. But, once again, if you're on cholesterol medication or something like that, that could be causing liver issues as well. Treatment and management, lifestyle changes. Follow a healthy diet and avoid sugar. Sugar is really bad for you guys. Sugar is like about up there with alcohol as far as the damage that it can cause. And sugar can cause fatty liver, which can lead to cirrhosis. And sugar can cause all this stuff just like alcohol can. So you want to be careful with sugar. And not to mention, sugar also is like food for the C word. It's one of the things they're saying now is that if you end up with the C word, that sugar, you want to avoid it at all costs. Stay away from it, because it's basically like, targeted food for it. Like it grows at an exponential rate when there's sugar. Following a healthy diet and avoiding sugar, lose weight, exercise regularly, limit or avoid alcohol and smoking. And then medical management, you want to manage blood sugar if you have diabetes, and just make sure that, you're not eating a bunch of sugar and things like that. But that's about it for my notes for today's video. Like I said, I wanted to discuss all the different types of liver disease and just kind of go over them really quick so that, everybody's got a good idea of what each type of liver disease is. I didn't want to do a really big deep dive on each and every single one. Like I said, I really wanted to focus my attention on the cirrhosis and fatty liver, since, like I said, I think those are the two largest groups of liver disease that are out there. But the thing is that, like I said, early detection of these diseases is the key. And you could save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of medical bills, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of pain and suffering by going to the doctor and getting early detection on this. If in fact you think that you might be dealing with liver disease and you're currently drinking right now, don't just go trying to quit drinking cold turkey without speaking to anybody. It can be very, very dangerous. Quitting alcohol or benzodiazepines abruptly can be life-threatening, guys. It just can. Quitting alcohol is very, very dangerous, and so is quitting benzodiazepines. Please be safe when you're trying to do this. Go speak with a doctor. Let them make the decision. You might go see the doctor and they might say, go for it, go cold turkey. They also might say, no, we need to place you on some medication. Maybe we need to make you taper first. It just really depends. But please speak with a doctor before you attempt to get sober, and just make sure you're doing this safely. There's no point, if you're not going to be alive, to be sober. And get to experience the life on the other side being sober. If you're not here, you're never going to get to experience that. So, like I said, just please be safe while you're doing this. But, like I said, if in fact you think this might be going on, go see a doctor. Let them run a couple of tests. They can do a very simple blood test. They're going to take a couple of vials of blood. If you go see your GP, tell them what's going on with you. Just walk in, be honest. Doc, I'm drinking too much. I'm worried. I think I might be dealing with some liver issues. I'm having a pain in my right-hand side. Maybe I'm starting to collect some fluid in my legs, yada yada. Tell them the truth. What's going on with you? What symptoms are you dealing with? The doctor's probably going to most likely say, let's go ahead and do some simple blood work and just run a test. They might do it right there. If you go to like Doc in the Box, most of those places have labs in the doctor's office. You don't even have to even go anywhere. They're going to come in there, take a couple of vials of blood from you really quick, and they're going to go run the blood work really quick. And you'll probably have an answer that day. If not, they're going to send you to somewhere like LabCorp or something like that. You go over there, same deal. They're gonna take a couple vials of blood. It's no big deal. I think it's like 4 or 5 vials of blood, and that's it. And you're gonna go on about your day and wait until the doctor gets the results back. And if in fact your liver numbers come back or some of your numbers come back out of whack, then they're gonna try to take you to do other testing, like maybe go have an MRI done or a CAT scan done, or maybe they want to send you off to have a liver biopsy or something like that. Like I said, liver biopsy is not that bad. They can also do a fibrosis test as well. It's almost like having a sonogram done. And what they're doing is they're looking to see what the stiffness of your liver is, which can determine if you have cirrhosis or what's going on as well. But early detection is the key, guys. And I know I've said this so many times, but ascites is absolutely horrible. You do not want to end up with that. And if you can avoid ending up with it by going to your doctor, getting some blood work done, finding out what's going on, getting early detection, going ahead and nipping this in the bud right now and getting on top of it. And, if the doctor says, we need to change your diet, you need to stop drinking, blah, 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 you could potentially save your life, guys. You really could. And just once again, before I get off of here, that not all liver disease is caused by alcohol, not one bit. Most liver disease is caused by alcohol consumption, but not all. It can be caused by a lot of different factors. It could be genetic factors. It could be diet, lifestyle, or all of the above. It really just depends. And if you end up with liver disease, it does not make you a bad person. It doesn't make you any different than anybody else. And life can go on with liver disease. I have cirrhosis, and I'm still here. They told me back in 2022 that I was going to be gone by the holiday season of 2023, and I'm still here kicking, guys. It's possible to go on living. I think one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves, though, is remove the alcohol. But once again, you've got to be safe doing that. But removing the alcohol, stopping drinking, it's going to stop all the damage in its tracks. There might be damage done already, but you can go on living your life with a damaged liver. You just don't want to damage it any more than what it already is. But anyway, guys, like I said, I just wanted to go over these different types of liver disease, discuss how you get them really quick, things of that nature. And then really quick before I get off of here as well, I did want to talk about, because I wasn't quite sure how viruses cause liver disease. And what ends up happening is the virus takes over the cell so that it can replicate itself. And when it's doing so, it causes inflammation in the liver, which then leads to other liver diseases. But it's because the virus is trying to self-replicate that causes the inflammation in the liver. That leads to fatty liver and cirrhosis and things of that nature. I just wasn't quite sure how viruses lead to liver disease like that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. And I didn't do today's video to scare anybody or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. This is not a fear-mongering video or anything like that. This is an educational video. I wanted to talk about this so that people out there, that might be dealing with something going on with their liver might take that next step and go speak with their doctor. And like I said, stop this in its tracks right now and keep it from going to that next place. Because once again, once you get to cirrhosis, that's it. There's no coming back from that. You can go on living your life, but once that scarring is done on the liver, it's there for the rest of your life unless you get a liver transplant. And that's a whole other thing in itself right there, which I might do a video about that coming up here soon as well. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Although it wasn't the most fun thing to talk about in the world, it's an important topic to discuss, and it needs to be talked about. There's not enough people talking about this right now. And there's so many people drinking alcohol, so many people, young people that are drinking alcohol right now. And there was nobody talking about this stuff when I was a kid. There was nobody telling us about pancreatitis and liver disease and all these things. Now, I think it probably would be very beneficial if we taught our kids this stuff in school, so they had an education so they can go out and make decisions for themselves as adults, but with a proper education. They know. That way we send them off into the world fully aware of what this can cause. And if they go out into the world and decide to, drink every single day, well, they made that decision with the education and the information, and that's their decision. But if we don't teach our kids these things, if we don't teach our community this stuff, we're just going to go on living our lives thinking that, alcohol is just this innocent beverage that we drink when we celebrate and things. And it's not. Alcohol is a very dangerous and addictive substance that I just think that we need to be a little bit more careful with in our society. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here for today. Thank you so much for being here. And until tomorrow, I will see you guys then. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.